Now, go back to my history, and I don't mean just me personally. I'm talking about the society in which I lived, in which I was raised, the history of my people. When as I narrate of Africa, when the European explorers, of course, always either led or quickly followed by their religious stormtroopers, the Christian missionaries came to Africa on their mission of conversion, they had a very serious problem. And that was they couldn't find Satan. They couldn't find the devil. Now, if you want to convert people, you've got to, first of all, persuade them that their soul is in dire danger. They're headed for the ultimate bonfire on the other side of existence. And for that, you need to label them followers of the devil, Satan, diabolical human beings. So they looked for the devil and looked among the deities of the Yoruba pantheon. I'm a Yoruba, by the way, a very complex religion, very elaborate, very well structured. And they looked among the deities and they found Ishu, the deity called Ishu. Now, who is Ishu? I often refer to Ishu as the eminent dialectician of the human condition. Why do I call him that? Ishu is an unpredictable spirit. Ishu exists to teach humanity that there's always more than one side to any issue, more than one face to any reality. Teaches you beware of appearances. The best laid plans, in all those expressions, best laid plans of mice and men, etc. Issue is the embodiment of the lesson embedded in such sayings. And when it teaches humanity about their folly in trusting to appearances or being dogmatic about any issue, it tends to do it in a rather painful way. Like a good teacher, armed with a cane, symbolic cane for adults who haven't learned the wisdom of looking at both sides of a question. And his place is at the crossroads, where, of course, which is the place where human beings get confused. Which road do you take at the crossroads? Ishu is so mischievous that in the Yoruba pantheon, he's not allowed in the house. His place is always at the doorstep, because Ishu in the house is just too temperamental. And before you do anything in Yoruba religion, before you worship even any of the deities, you make sure you set aside a morsel for Ishu. Ishu is really the messenger of the deities. He can deliver the message straight. He's always truthful, but he may deliver it in a way without lying that makes you misinterpret the message. But that's because he has a lesson to impart. So when the missionaries came, they looked at this among the other deities, the god of lightning, the god of the rivers, the god of purity, the god of war, the god of Urishaku, the god of the moist elements, etc., etc. They said, Ishu. That's the answer. This mischievous person who upsets human plans, that's the devil. And so Ishu became, for Christians, the devil, Satan. And even in the Yoruba interpretation, translation of the Bible, each time you hear of the devil, Satan, it is Ishu. On the contrary, you'll find a symbol of Ishu in the divination bowl, because it is he also who helps the Babalawo to interpret the Odu of Ifa, Odu. The Ifa is the scriptures, the compendium of Yoruba wisdom, even pharmacology. All the wisdom of the Yoruba is bound up in the verses of Ifa, and the compendium called Ifa, whose verses the Babalawo, the diviner, recites as he divines for human beings. But today, it's very painful to find one's own countrymen and women referring to Ishu as the devil. By contrast, look at what happened to Ishu when he moved with the slaves to Latin America. Having arrived with the knowledge that Ishu was feared by the Christian missionaries, the slaves adopted Ishu as their patron deity, just to scare the Christians who wanted them to convert. Yeshu became the paramount symbol of resistance in Latin America, in the Americas. In fact, it went beyond that. In certain parts of Brazil, for instance, you'll find that Yeshu has even been elevated to the supreme deity, simply because that was the symbol, that was their protagonist for freedom. And so you find the transposition of deities across the Atlantic, how not a minor, but certainly a junior deity became not only the symbol of resistance in the New World, but the supreme deity in certain parts of Brazil, like Brasilia, for instance. On the contrary, if you go to Bahia, which is the heartland of the Yoruba in Brazil, and you go to a Yoruba shrine or candomblé, no, the hierarchy is quite plain. But in certain other parts, you see, Yeshu became the supreme deity. Now consider today. Now this was the history of the missionaries in